The Houston Texans go undefeated on the season against the Indianapolis Colts, while the New York Jets lost a shocker to Ryan's New England Patriots. They're going to face each other on Thursday Night Football here in Week 9. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan. We're going to break down this game and provide our predictions at the very end of the video. But before I get into that, be sure to leave a like and a comment, and also subscribe to the Tracy Take. Trying to get to 100 new subscribers for these Week 9 prediction videos. We've been able to hit that goal over the past couple of weeks, so any help is greatly appreciated. That being said, Ryan, let's get into it here. Your New England Patriots beat the New York Jets here in Week 8. Shocking upset. I would say I think a lot of people probably, with the addition of Devontae Adams, would have thought that they would have rolled, but you guys were able to keep them in check, especially to losing Drake May. The Houston Texans were able to hold off against Anthony Richardson and the Colts here. They did. It wasn't without a cost, though. We'll dive into that here in a second. But want to start off with the Jets here. You're watching the entire Jets-Patriots game. What do you think is kind of going on with the Jets? A lot of stuff has happened over the past couple of weeks that has been very public that we all know about. What do you think is going on? What do you think is their quick fix? You're on mute.
They're just an undisciplined football team right now. They're not like I don't even know how to like really surmise it into words, just only with examples. Like I've never seen a team have to use all 3 timeouts in the first quarter of an NFL football game. Their rush lanes on defense are very undisciplined. Drake May, before he went out with a concussion, was able to just kind of gash them on some crucial situations. He had 2 scrambles for like 17 yards for. One was for a touchdown. Another one was on like a 3rd and 10 that he got about another 18 on. Like, so he was just able to, like, they just weren't disciplined. Especially when it came, like when push came to shove, I felt like the New England got the better of a lot of those situations. Also, just like dumb penalties, getting delay of games, multiple delay of games, like just things that are like very easily fixed. But when you have this like snowball effect of what it just feels like is undisciplined football, it's really hard for teams to overcome that, no matter how much talent you add to this roster.
Well, and especially when you talk about undisciplined, and I think that's fair to say, because at least under Robert Saleh, who'd been there for several years, like players knew like this is the system, this is the culture, these are our jobs. But now like things come in, and obviously I know the defense coordinator is the one the offensive coordinator is the one that is now the head coach. Or shoot, I'm blanking on it.
No, it's Albrecht. Jeff
Albrecht.
He's the defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
Nathaniel Hackett actually got removed from play calling duties. Also.
Yeah,
So he got demoted.
Sorry. Either way, that with all the confusion and changes that happened, especially too so abruptly after you come back from a long flight from London, then going at Devontae Adams, like it's still going to take some time. And also, too, we think about it as well. Aaron Rodgers hasn't played half the season. He's played now half a season of NFL games. Technically, if you'd even want to call the game last year where he tore his Achilles game, he only played 4 snaps. So still kind of get into the rhythm of with the offensive linemen, with the players, with Garrett Wilson, with everybody else. But to the undisciplined point, though, I think it's just a team that's been kind of hit through just like a big culture shock with Robert Saleh going out. And then you bring in a big name like Devontae Adams, there's those expectations. Especially on the offensive side of the ball. To me, I still think it comes down to the offensive line. I still think their offensive line is not top-notch. Elijah Vera-Tucker didn't play today. So, and that's going to be one of the big things going into this Texans matchup is the Texans have one of the top defenses in the league. If you go look at where they're at statistically, let me make sure I'm looking at the right one here. They're second in overall yards allowed, 3rd in overall passing yards allowed, 13th in rushing yards allowed, 3rd in sacks with 27. That's a huge factor right there, just because
it's almost all coming off the edges too with Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, and these Jets tackles struggling right now.
Well, and they've given up 18 sacks so far on the season. Not the worst, but shoot, that's a lot. That's a lot. About 18 more times than Aaron Rodgers would want to get sacked with how old he is. And so when I was just watching that game today, I think it's still just going to take some time, but I also was seeing a guy like Aaron Rodgers too, who he is older, yes, but if he doesn't have time, if any quarterback doesn't have time or protection, it's going to be tough for any of these offenses to succeed, even with great receivers like Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. And so it's not all just on the offensive line. Everybody has to do better. But even too, if I go look at this offensively, though, I want to make sure that this is correct. Yeah, they're 30th in rushing yards per game offensively. So it heavily relies on the passing game and on Aaron Rodgers, and teams like don't have to put 7, 8 in the box to try and stop Breece Hall or Braylon Allen, who can be a very dynamic running back crew. But I just think that's going to be tough for this offense to keep moving forward if they don't somehow figure out this offensive line to give Aaron Rodgers time to make it more dynamic. Then you combat that also, too, with the changes at the head coach, the culture change that's going on right now, all in the middle of the season, and you're trying to figure it out. It's just really tough, especially, too, when you kind of go and look at it. This team, their record could be a lot better. Like, they barely lost to Denver. They were a couple plays away, I would say, that they could have gone their way against Minnesota, Buffalo, the same thing, Pittsburgh, and New England. They've got blown out, obviously. So it's sorry, not New England didn't get blown out, but should have beat New England.
Well, even like I'll go back, and there are some similarities from that Pittsburgh game to the New England game. Was the Jets had the lead. They were up 15-6, and they had them dead to rights. But then they started making mistakes on offense and being that undisciplined team that they were. And then they let Pittsburgh to start getting momentum. Then they had to start forcing the ball down the field against that Pittsburgh defense, which is you want TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, and like Minka Fitzpatrick and Joey Porter Jr. Like those guys are getting after you, and those guys are the second two guys are dropping back into coverage, and you have to throw into them. And so in the Patriots, like they had the Patriots dead to rights. They needed one defensive stop at the end of the game, and they couldn't get it. So
yeah,
it's just undisciplined football. They're making mistakes that are hurting themselves. And I think like kind of switch gears over to Houston because we've talked a lot about the Jets so far. Houston is one of the most explosive offenses in the league. Stephon Diggs, be interesting to see if he plays. He went down with looked like a knee injury today. Based on the estimated return date, they're expecting him to potentially be available for this matchup, but we will definitely have to keep an eye on kind of what his prognosis is throughout the week. On a short week, I doubt he will play, but we'll just kind of have to see. Nico Collins is already out with a hamstring injury, so that really leaves Tank Dell and Cast left. They have Dalton Schultz. Joe Mixon has been having a really good year so far, and it'll be interesting to see kind of what they can come up with. But I definitely think you go look defensively. I think it's a really good matchup for this Texans team. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, Derek Stingley Jr. can match up with those receivers. They're going to figure out ways to get after Aaron Rodgers and I think create some turnovers and stuff for this offense.
Yeah, and that's going to be kind of going into the predictions here. It's going to be the X factor for this game is going to be this Jets offense because it's going to be a tough matchup going against this Texas defense, who statistically ranked one of the better ones in the league. But they've added Devontae Adams. Can they keep making those steps forward? Because the Texans, though, I think they're going to have a tough time scoring just with if Stephon Diggs doesn't play and also not having Nico Collins. That being said, though, I still feel they're going to put up 21 to 24 points. It's almost kind of been – they've scored more than that this season, but it's almost kind of been their average now. It seems like that's their ceiling, like 24 points is where they can get to. Can the Jets get that high? I really don't think they can. I just think that they've been really struggling. And I believe the Texas defense is going to come in. They're going to show out as well on a shortened week. But at the same time, too, they're going to know they're going to need to step up if they're going to be down their top two receivers. So Joe Mixon has been playing well, as you mentioned. And so I think the Texans are going to squeak this one out. I think it's going to be another close loss, I think, by the Jets team that is just going to keep shooting themselves in the foot. I think it's going to be like a 24-17 type game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Texans also. One thing that we didn't talk about, I'm very interested to see what happens with Greg Zuerlein, especially on a shortened week. Do they go out and get another kicker because he missed a field goal, missed a PAT? Like it was just a really, and that is just this week. That is, like his performance this year has been abysmal. But I'm going to go with a 27-20 victory for the Houston Texans. I think the Jets will be able to do some things, but all in all, I think it's just not going to be enough. The Jets, I think, have a culture problem. And one of the big things that I would say is I think the Jets are trying to play Madden in the NFL, they're trying to just acquire talent and acquire these guys and not necessarily take a full picture of an organization and develop a team that one plays it as a team, but plays disciplined football. They're just trying to collect talent right now, and I think it hasn't worked out for them nearly as well as they had hoped. So
Yeah.
But
Yep. No, I agree.
Let's go ahead and wrap it up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It's the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Houston Texans? Will it be the New York Jets? Other than that, we'll see you guys next time.